Hey, there we go. There we go. Yep. Yep. Man, how y'all doing? You know why I'm here. You know why I'm here. You know what I come to do. And shout out to me for being more consistent than I have been in the past. More rap content. Because content is the big buzzword, right? But before we get into that, we're going to talk about, Cole, J. Cole, Port, Antonio. And I'm here to change the conversation just a little bit. I've heard y'all reactions. I've read y'all reactions. Some of them were cool. Some of them were not so cool. Some were good. Some were bad. Some I could care less about what you're saying. But hey, we here. And it's time to talk about it. But first, man, make sure you get yourself some made in the 1980s merch. Okay. You know what? Hold up here. I just got a cream hoodie. I'm going to show it to you. It's this bad boy right here. You know what I'm saying? And this is just a prototype. You're gonna get one that says Camp from the Ports made in 1980s versus Camp P presents made in the 1980s. Because sometimes you learn by doing and you learn by failing. And no need for me to be two different people per se, name wise, on the merch. I podcast host this Camp from the Port everywhere. So why not get merch from Camp from the Port, campfromtheport.store. You make sure that you log on and you order that. So without further ado, man, let's just get right into it. J. Cole dropping Port Antonio. And it is the second verse for sure, is a direct response to just us, the hip hop community, the music community, the critiquers, the lookers, the onlookers, the naysayers, maybe even some of the haters. First, let's start with what is just factual. The track is dope. Track is fire. J. Cole has not lost his ability to rap, even though he refused to rap in a rap battle, but that is okay. And I'm going to not necessarily double down on that, but at least give you more perspective on why that's okay. But in this, he's taken a different, not necessarily a different route, but his approach to answering all of us at the same time is to say, hey, yeah, I backed out of this, but that's because both of these guys are my friends. That's point number one. Jermaine Cole, that is, he considers Kendrick Lamar and Drake to be his friends. And I totally understand the act of not wanting to engage in a war of words or a battle of any kind with your friends. No matter what your skill set is, no matter what you feel you can or can't do, I don't think anyone with true empathy, compassion, or just true friendship, I don't think it's a such thing as fighting your friends. I don't believe in doing that. Anybody that's willing to fight you, to me, is not necessarily a friend. But some people just have different relationships. I personally am not a person that wants to engage at that level. I don't like to say things I don't mean. I don't like to speak ill of another human being if I really do have some admiration or respect for them. That's how I personally move. Why? Because on the flip side, if I don't like you, then I really don't like you, and I could give a fuck about your life, And that is how I operate. I either like you or I don't. I want the same in reciprocation. And I am okay with whatever side of the fence you're standing on. Just make sure you stay over there. Because one side of the fence, I might burn all the grass and you over there with it. Just never know. Never know. I can be a loose cannon that way. So I do understand J. Cole for not wanting to engage at that level with persons that he calls friends. there's actually nothing wrong with that at all. I think the way that we view hip hop, especially some of the elder listeners, I think the way that we view hip hop and we view diss tracks and things of that nature, we just feel that all you automatically have to engage. And that ain't really true. And I'm going to prove that here shortly. The second thing that Cole kind of highlights in this, along with not one of the Ballard's friends, it was like, it wasn't a skill thing for him. It was literally just solely a friendship thing for him, and he didn't want to potentially lose two friends. We now, with certain backstory, we do hear that first person shooter was supposed to be the big three coming together, and maybe it's not. Maybe that was Drake's way of making amends and burying the hatchet. Hey, maybe, just maybe, this is where my conspiracy theory rap nerd brain kicks in. Maybe first person shooter was J. Cole's idea. And he said, hey, we need to get you and Kendrick in the studio to just kind of squash this, man. Let's just keep it hip hop. Let's rap. I know we being competitive. I know we want to be the best. And, this is just like verbal sparring or verbal jousting, but we don't really mean any harm. But see, that's where J. Cole has to sit this one out, because Drake and Kendrick don't feel the same way. And I think even if Drake didn't at one point, sheesh, that was loud. Even if Drake didn't feel that way at one point, Kendrick is trying to make sure that he does feel that way. I think Kendrick and I are a lot alike in this instance, where he's like, no, don't like me because I don't like you. Which is kind of funny. But again, I do respect it. Shout out to all the people that don't fake kick it, that don't have some timey fake friends, even though Drake seems to do all the songs about fake friends and fake love and things of that nature, but it seems that he always has the problem with friends and love. And eventually you gotta think the problem is you, and you do have to correct it. Like, you can't walk around life for almost 4 decades and you can't trust anybody. You can't have any friends. You don't have one friend. That's just odd to me. I mean, nobody's loved or hated by everybody. I mean, we watch it every 4 years with the election. Look at Donald Trump as an example. There are clearly some people that love him and some people that absolutely hate him. So even with that said, even Donald Trump is doing something to make people like and want to be his friend. How come Drake can't do that, it seems, this year or just overall? Questions to ponder, things to think about. But let's move forward. Cole wants to be the peacemaker, but Cole is talking about how he kind of wants to compete. Matter of fact, I want to read a couple of tweets or X's. That's a double entendre in some kind of way. Of some of the responses I've seen to this, an account by the name of Blunt Toven. That's a very clever name. That's funny. It says Drake and Cole's burning desire to prove and explain themselves is ironically their Achilles heel. And he said it must be someone being biracial, which is funny. And why Kendrick prevailed is because that's their Achilles heel. They're always trying to prove and explain themselves. Kendrick doesn't seek acceptance or understanding from the public. He just moves and people react and scramble. And that's a very great, and I would even dare say underrated point. From his album releases to his videos to the moves being made, Kendrick is not one to explain anything to you. He's just like, hey, I did this, interpret it. You know, hey, here's Good Kid, Mad City, interpret it. Here's To Pimp a Butterfly, interpret it. Damn, and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And, you know, sometimes he doesn't spell it all the way out for you, but even if he doesn't, you know, there is no interview that exists. There's no conversation that exists. There's no content piece that exists where Kendrick is overly explaining himself and what he does and why. Meanwhile, that is literally the whole 2024 of Drake and J. Cole. They are taking every given chance they get, on a beat or no beat, through an Instagram post or a series of tweets in a thread or wherever. They are explaining, or they are delivering messages to be explained through their, you know, trusted personality or outlet. And it does make it seem kind of sus. I won't lie to you, because what's without the explanation? Why are you explaining this? Now, granted, the obvious answer is because, well, they care. You know, they care about the perception, they care about the imagery, they care about all of this. And you know, even the fact that even Kendrick maybe not responding publicly or social medially, if that is truly a word in this era, it doesn't mean that he's not that he lacks the care, because we don't get Euphoria and Meet the Grams and 616 in LA and Not Like Us if Kendrick just doesn't care. If he doesn't care at all, we don't get these records. But we get these records, and it's on us to say how we feel, and he's just gonna let us cook, which is awesome. Now I want to read another a message here in regards to J. Cole and Port Antonio, because there are some mixed reviews on this song. I think skill wise, nobody's ever doubted J. Cole can actually rap. He can really rap. He raps really well. Now, there has been some talk about how we don't want to hear him talking about how he's the best anymore. And I might be buying a ticket for that ride, but we're going to dissect that just a little bit before we get into why J. Cole shouldn't rap about being the best, right? So Z4 Dro says mixed messages. J. Cole wants to be the bigger man, but there's inconsistency. He claims he can out-rap anyone, then avoids beef for friendship, and now says he could have won, but didn't want to lose a bro. You can't have it both ways, and that's what put him in this position. Now, that I do agree with. I agree with that to a degree. And I agree with it to a degree because of Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida. And I think I've brought this example up before. You know, because the UFC is not like the WWF. You know, in the WWF, Owen Hart can face Bret Hart. Matt Hardy can face Jeff Hardy. And, you know, they can piece it up at the end. They're brothers, but, you know, this is competition. Shawn Michaels and Triple H can get into a feud. They're like brothers, but they can get into bitter bloodbath wars. But, you know, it's scripted. It's a work. They don't really hate each other in real life. Rap isn't that way. Rap isn't that way because these are, even with stage names, these are still real people with real lives that have real interactions. You know, we're not really here to sell a pay-per-view or to sell a fight. And we've seen, you know, extreme beef take shape in unfortunate ways. And I don't think none of this was ever that, unless somebody gets way too emotional and does something totally out of character and stupid. But I don't think that was truly the MO of anybody involved, if I'm being totally honest. Here is the thing, though. Cole can think highly of himself as a rapper and say he's not scared of the battle. And I didn't want to engage because, you know, we're friends, we're bros or whatever. But he's in a very tricky situation here because fortunately and unfortunately, if you're going to spout out how you're the best and you happen to be friends with the other guys that are considered the best, then you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do this to some degree. Again, it's verbal sparring, it's jousting, right? And that's why my question the other day is rap an art or is it an athletic competition? Because let's be clear, J. Cole's not the first person to duck a battle with another superstar that people felt might get him in trouble lyrically. This is literally this is Kane and Rakim. This is Big Daddy Kane versus Rakim, the battle that never happened. It never happened in the 80s. It didn't happen in the early 90s. It didn't even happen on Versus. And that's what they were going for. So we got to stop thinking that J. Cole did something super brand new to hip hop because he hasn't. And for whatever reasons there may be, Rakim just doesn't want to battle Big Daddy Kane. But I think when you listen to Rakim and his rapping, he's not really here for the verbal sparring with time. Now, maybe Paid in Full, there was more bravado and about proving that he's the best. But as Rakim gets older and he is, a member of the 5% Nation and he's about knowledge of self and kicking that knowledge through rap, he just may have looked at it as like, yo, I'm not about to tear another brother down with words. And that's fine. That's fine. So to me, that means Rakim is strictly in it for the art of it. I'm not competing with anybody. I'm just me and I'm rapping. And that's fine. Where Kane may have absolutely wanted to prove, hey, no, I'm better than this cat. And he got to stand in front of me and get work. But you don't necessarily win the battle because you're battling somebody that don't want to battle you. You don't start slapping the kid in the face that won't hit you back. So that's that's just one to grow with. Hey, my man Kaleidoscope is on here. Okay, so Jermaine is not a general. He's a war reporter. CNN Channel 10. Once again, what? Okay, wait. Okay. That's the lane he chose. Okay. A really talented storyteller, but he's rarely the main character of his own stories. I think that's an important bar there. That's an important angle to take in this, because I now officially believe that Cole is solely in it for the artistic expression. He's here for the art. And that is cool. So, under the act of words and thoughts become things, speaking certain things into fruition, being who you say you are or are not, then he should leave out a lot of these bars about how great he is or how he's the best. He could totally express how he believes in himself and all the stories he tells, but there is a certain amount of bravado that unfortunately that's just in hip hop, rap music specifically, because a lot of this stuff ain't really hip hop to me, as far as just like antics, and a lot of this battle stuff is not really hip hop to me. And we can talk about it, but don't rap about being the best and how can nobody F with you if you are not willing to prove that against absolutely anybody. I think that's fair. I think that's just a fair thing to think and say and believe. If because if that's not who you are, then and you're not ready to prove it, you know, don't jump in. Because athleticism, right? Athletic competition, basketball, right? People automatically always say, rap is like basketball or anything like that. And truth be told, it's not. It's not. Um, because every rapper is not in competition with each other. And now more than ever, we have seen what 2 eras now of rappers that are doing all they can to not be considered competition. Everything from what their songs are about to not necessarily being rap songs, all the way down to the actual constructing of the music. They're just like, well, no, well, this ain't really rap, or what they'll do for what you'll say to them. There are a lot of artists out here that if you say something about them, they're not trying to respond with a rap. They're trying to respond with punch you in the face, shooting you, going to jail, exposing you through screenshots, having sex with your wife or girls, or anything again that's just not hip hop. That's not under the culture of rap or battle rapping. And I think it's time that we really highlight that. Cole, and I know he's speaking metaphorically when he says, they want blood, like meaning us, the audience, the fans, the media outlets. We want blood. We want to see the car crash. We want to see the hideous accident. We want to see, a bloodbath. And hey man, look, we're products of the hit 'em up era. We're products of No Vaseline. We're products of No Vaseline, and I'm sorry, Ether versus Takeover. We're products of that. You know. So maybe you're right, Cole. However, even then, there was the obvious, but we about to rap though, and that's it. And we're not in that era anymore. People are not attempting to be ruthless on wax anymore. See, this is why I don't talk about some of the other unfortunate hip hop news that's happening, because it's not hip hop to me. I'm going to put it like this: the other news that involving people that are also rappers, because this ain't, when people are dying over words, or when just street activity is happening, that's not hip hop to me. I don't consider none of that hip hop. When somebody is like, yo, you diss me, I'm shooting you, or you diss me, I'm going to put hands on you, or whatever. Like when we, like, that's letting you know off top, okay, this is not an athletic competition. Because if I'm going to display my athleticism, if you will, which is your lyricism, and you're going to respond with violence or aggression, okay, so we're obviously playing a different game. We're playing 2 different games, and you got to put your hands up and walk away at that. So let's just leave it all at everybody, unless you're in the battle realm. But even the battle realm, dudes are getting punched in their face in battles. Don't say this, don't do that, or I'm gonna do this. Again, none of that is. I don't want to say they didn't sign up for it, but it's unfortunate that a lot of people in this era, they walk into confrontation, verbal confrontation, with that mindset. Well, if dudes say this, then I'm gonna do that. Versus, well, okay, he's gonna say this, I'm gonna say this. He's gonna say this, I'm gonna say that. And also for Cole, I think that that there's something. about play fighting with the dude that's never playing. And Kendrick is the guy that's never playing. You know, you may come to spar, but you're going to catch a haymaker if you're messing around with Kendrick like that. Also, here's another piece. Cole, if you both of our friends and you can't squash it, then yeah, get out the way. See, we don't have enough of that in life as black men, let alone rap music, hip hop, what have you. Everybody is so quick to instigate something, but nobody wants to stop anything. And you know what happens when you do just step back and let them go at it and let whatever happen happen. I think we're seeing that now. And you know, Cole can duck for whatever reason he wanted to duck. I don't think that really matters. It's just the way he speaks about it afterwards, because yeah, in the matters way he is playing both sides of the fence, because he doesn't want to just be the artist. He just wants to create art. And I think Kendrick was on the same wave too. But here's the deal. Kendrick was seemingly just fed up with whatever he definitely knows or what he just feels coming from Drake. And that was enough for him. And if he did get the call that said, hey, like this ain't Busy B versus Kool Moe Dee. Like this ain't that. This is, man, I don't want to use people that are no longer with us. But this is more Beanie Siegel versus Jadakiss. You know, this ain't Shan versus KRS-One. This is more LL versus Cannabis. You know? Like, I don't like this guy. And if you're going to stand over there, you're going to catch more than strays. It's going to be a double homicide at this point. You're not catching just a stray. This is going to be a double homicide if you hop in this. And so Cole can respectfully bow out because, hey, look, again, that ain't hip hop. That's not hip hop. And I know I'm probably going to receive some pushback from that, and I don't care because I'm well equipped to mentally disarm anyone in that regard. But once you've put a certain level of emotion and anger into something, it's above art. It's something else. Yes, Kendrick Lamar artistically dismantled Drake this year. However, with the words he chose to use, there is no coming back from that. And I think that's exactly what he wanted. Again, there are some of us that will think about burning the bridge and then put the fire out when we see like the rope coming down. And then there's some people that will burn the bridge and stand on the other side of that bridge to push you back into the ocean just in case you make it over in time. I think Kendrick is the latter. And in that regard, he was like, hey, I'll get rid of both of you MFs. I'll get rid of both of you beige bastards if you want to play this game with me. Because I already don't like him, and I respect you and I like you. But if you're over there, hey, look, he told you I'm YNW Melly. If you on that time, then it's over for you too. And Cole made the right decision. Protect your friendship, but protect your collaboration. Look, Daylight and Jid and Boss and Cos, and I don't think Reason is on TD anymore, but all those guys, Isaiah Rashad, like all those guys, they collab together. They've been on each other's albums and mixtapes. They tour together. They do each other's festivals. Like there's a lot of relationship to maintain there. And that's just business. That's rap business. And there's nothing wrong with maintaining rap business. But I do want to express that anytime we're getting too personal or we're involving like street talk and activity, and we're involving kids, we're involving significant others, like, yo, that's not hip hop. That's not hip hop to me. I'm sorry. Because at the end of the day, these are grown men with mouths to feed and livelihoods were trying to be affected with some of the stuff that was said. And I think it was all purposeful. Let's see this next comment. I feel like Kendrick gave Drake a loud warning shot back on King Kuta with the sharing bars like a two-man cell. I think because Drake kept getting lyrically flagrant, Kendrick had to burn that bridge and go all out. Hey, I'm not mad at that take. I listen to All the Stars so differently now. That first verse on All the Stars is literally the last time Kendrick talked to Drake. He was like, hey, look, that whole first verse is, hey, look, bro, I don't like you. I don't trust you. I don't want you to be at any event I'm at. Don't salute me. don't acknowledge my accolades. Don't do nothing. Just, hey, look, when you see me, don't say shit. Grab your burner. You know what I'm saying? That's from the Locks joint. Training Day soundtrack. And I think he meant that. And obviously he meant that because now look what's happening since All the Stars. And that was on the soundtrack. That was on the Black Panther soundtrack. But if you listen to that first verse on All the Stars featuring SZA, it's spelling it out for you right there. It's like, hey, you know what? Nope, not you, dog. Hey, I'm telling you, you got 0 more times to play with me, and this is gonna go left. And I don't fake kick it. We not friends. You do not F with me. And that's okay. That is okay. Cole, my final thought on you, sir, is just get back to rapping, man. Create your projects. Leave this alone. You said even in your verse, you said like you're not going to please everybody. And that should have never been your aim anyway. But at the same time, you got to know when you got to pick a side of the fence. You got to pick a side of the fence. Are you in it for the art, or are you in it with the idea that it's an athletic competition? Because you do not have to battle anybody. You do not have to present content and say certain bars that make people think you want smoke. Yes, you are holding a loaded gun, but you also could just be holding a paintbrush. And that is fine. See, somewhere along the lines, people started getting blurred a lot of different things, like, oh, to be a rap superstar, you have to battle. You have to have this legend. You got to be battle tested. You have to do, the most. You got to have the big single. You got to have the street hit. You got to have the club joint. You got to have the classic albums. And in reality, you don't. You don't. Not to be respected and be revered in hip hop. You do not. I don't remember Biz Markie battling anybody. And who's going to tell him that he's not an icon or a legend? Rest in peace. Who's going to say that? I don't think Redman battled anyone. Yeah, hey, I don't recall. And Redman was like, yo, I was busting ass when I was going from Jersey to the boroughs. Like he battled on the street, and that's cool. But when he got into the actual act of making music, yeah, I don't think Redman has dissed or been dissed by anybody. And nobody's gonna tell me that he is not absolutely great. Yeah, there's a lot of people that we can name. I'm sorry, E40. I don't like. I don't. There, we got to stop saying just shit just to be saying it. Because none of this is real. Hey, look, without Takeover versus Ether, do Nas and Jay even get into any more battles? Do they? You never know. So, that's not a hip hop rule, especially when we're making music. So, especially under the act of making music, because there are some people that we don't want to see battle. Hey, remember, not too long ago when somebody was trying to book Bone Crusher versus like Bizarre or somebody like that. That's going to be the worst battle ever. Like nobody really wants to see that. One of the most disappointing things I ever seen, but it was hilarious at the same time. When Fredro Starr battled Keith Murray. And Keith Murray came out there obviously high or drunk out of his mind. He even put on a Rasta wig and started rapping his Onyx remix verse in like patois. I didn't need that. But now Keith Murray, he will get out here and battle. Him versus Prodigy is better than I think a lot of y'all either think or remember. But yeah, you don't have to speak a certain way in your music to be respected, to be revered, to be a legend. Battling is not required. It's not. Don't let people gas you. Excuse me. Don't think that that rapping just comes with instant bravado and how you got to rap about being the best. No, you don't. You don't. And not for nothing. It don't matter the era. There's always somebody or some crew that is challenged lyrically or whatever, and it's resulted in violence. So that off top lets you know that everybody is not in it for the athletic competition of this. That's going to do it for me. Something to ponder on, something to think about, man. I appreciate y'all checking in and listening, watching, whatever you decided to do. And we'll do this again. I still owe y'all a music review. I got to listen to LL Cool J's The Force again before I give a review. And I'm looking forward to doing that. And man, there's a couple other albums I want to check out, or at least check out again. I want to listen to them thoroughly. I don't want to just let's do them because they're hot topics or just because they just dropped. I want to really sit with music, listen to it, give y'all a real assessment, and that's going to happen. Yeah, let me get back to that. We'll talk soon. Please be safe and always know consensually. It's love.